All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to go on a journey, starting with a completely blank page and ending with a powerful, secure web application. We're using two of the absolute titans of the web, PHP and MySQL. Let's build something. So let me ask you this. Have you ever stopped to think about how a website actually knows who you are? You know, how it keeps you logged in or how it saves your profile picture. That isn't some kind of digital magic. Nope. It's just a server-side language like PHP having a conversation with a database. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain and see exactly how that conversation happens. So here's our game plan. First, we'll connect PHP and MySQL. Then, we'll get into managing our data, followed by the super important step of securing the application. After that, we'll tackle user authentication. And finally, we'll see how it all clicks into place. Okay, first things first, we've got to lay the foundation. This is that initial critical handshake between our application's brain, that's PHP, and its long-term memory, the MySQL database. Honestly, without this connection, our website is just, well, it's just a static, pretty much lifeless page. At its very heart, this connection is what breathes life into a website. We use a function, something like MySQL_connect, where PHP basically introduces itself to MySQL with the right credentials. You know, the server name, username, password, and which database to use. When that handshake is successful, bam! A static page becomes this dynamic, interactive experience. It's how a blog can pull up the latest posts, or a social media site can show you updates in real time. All right, connection established. Now it's time to build the engine. This is all about managing your data. This is the core machinery that handles all the information flowing in and out of our app. You know, pretty much every time you interact with a website, it starts with a form. It's how you sign up, leave a comment, or search for something. PHP then grabs that data using either $get or $post. But right here, this is the most critical part. We have to validate that input. This isn't just a suggestion. It's our absolute first line of defense against attacks. So once we have that clean, validated data, what do we actually do with it? Well, we perform CRUD operations. Get this acronym tattooed on your brain because it's everything. It stands for create, read, update, and delete. These are the four, and only four, fundamental things you can do with data in pretty much any application ever. You master CRUD, you've mastered data management. And here's what CRUD looks like in code. We create new data with an insert statement. We read existing data with select. We update something with, you guessed it, update. And we get rid of it with delete. Now listen closely. For updating and deleting, you see those where clauses? Pay attention to them. That tiny little bit of code is the only thing stopping you from accidentally changing or, even worse, wiping out your entire database. No pressure. Okay, our machine is built and the engine is humming. But now, we gotta get serious. It's time to fortify the walls. The second you have an application with valuable data, you also have a target. We need to build our defenses right from the very beginning. Because this is the one question that every single developer has to ask themselves: what happens when a user doesn't have good intentions? What if someone tries to use those nice forms we built, not to sign up, but to break in? And that brings us to the main villain of our story, SQL injection. This is how it works. An attacker types malicious code into a form. If your app isn't secure, it can trick your database into running that code as a command. And just like that, they could delete all your data or steal every bit of private user information. It's absolutely devastating. But hey, every good story has a hero, right? For us, that hero is prepared statements. This is such a key concept. Instead of just mushing user input together with our SQL query, we send the database a template of the query first. Then, we send the user's data separately. Because the data and the logic are separate, it is literally impossible for an attacker's input to be mistaken for a command. It's a beautifully simple solution, and PHP functions like MySQLi prepare make it happen. So our fortress is now strong against direct assault. Great. Now, let's build the gatehouse to control who we let inside in the first place. This is all about user authentication. And it all starts with this: a simple login form. We've all used them a million times. We type in our username, our password, and we click login. But what's really happening behind the curtain to make sure it's secure? Let's break it down. So here's the flow. Step 1, the user hits submit. Step 2, and this is so important, PHP takes the password they just typed in and immediately scrambles it into a secure hash. Step 3, it compares that brand new hash with the one we already have stored in our database. And finally, step 4, if they match, we swing open the gates and start a session to remember that they're logged in. And please, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Never, ever, ever store passwords as plain text. It's the #1 rule. We use a function called password_hash to create that secure, scrambled version when a user signs up. Then we use password verify to check it when they try to log in. That way, even if someone managed to steal your database, the real passwords are still safe.
Okay, so a user is logged in. How does the website keep track of them as they click around? That's where session management comes in. We kick it off with session start. Then we can store little bits of info, like their user ID, in a special, super global session array. But just as important as starting a session is knowing how to end it. When a user clicks logout, we have to completely destroy that session to make sure nobody can come along and hijack it. We've done it. We've laid the foundation, we built the engine, we've fortified the walls, and we've secured the gatehouse. Now for the fun part, our grand tour, where we see how all these pieces come together to build things you'd actually use in the real world.
And this is where all that theory becomes practice. That simple contact form on a business website, that's just secure user input collection. The admin panel on the back end of a blog, that's CRUD in action, letting the administrator create, read, update, and delete posts. These are the fundamental building blocks of almost every web app you use every single day. And for the final polish, just a couple of pro tips. Keep your code organized. Have a separate file just for your database connection details. Trust me, it will save you so many headaches down the road. And when you finally put your site online, always, always use HTTPS. It encrypts all the traffic between your user and your server, keeping everything safe. So there you have it, the fundamental blueprint for building web applications that aren't just dynamic and interactive, but are also secure. From that first handshake with the database to managing data, defending against attacks, and authenticating your users, you now have the tools to both build and protect. The only question left is, what will you create?